Hi, good evening. My name's Jason Debly. Tonight's whiskey review is a Highland malt, Scotch, single malt, Royal Brackla. 40% alcohol by volume, comes in a 750 milliliter bottle format. Fairly hefty bottle. Kind of like the bottle, kind of has a decanter type quality. The cork, well, the stopper's kind of heavy, so they've weighted it. It's more than just wood and cork in there. And I look at this cork, and I think it's synthetic. I don't think it's real cork. I'm using my fingernail here. No, it's real cork. I was wrong. Okay. Royal Brackla. It's obscure in the sense that you've never heard about it, but you've probably tasted it before. It's a ingredient single malt in Dewar's. In fact, it's owned by the Dewar's brand, and there have been in the past, in a few, going back 10 years, releases of Royal Brackla, but mostly by independent bottlers. They buy up the single malt, they do their own wood management, age it till they think it's ready, and then they bottle it and sell it. Barry and Brothers, Gordon MacPhail, companies like that, who are very skilled at that. Royal Brackla, other than that, there's not much I can tell you. I don't know much about it. Haven't encountered this whiskey before this year. A month and a half earlier this summer, a friend of mine put on a little whiskey tasting that I attended, and he had a bottle, and I wasn't familiar with it. We pulled the cork, tried it, and I thought it was okay. So I bought a bottle. I like to buy, not always big name brands like Macallan, but I like to find hidden gems, like obscure single malts that nobody's heard of, but they taste really good. And so there's a tension in my reviews, going from obscure whiskey to blockbuster. Sometimes I listen to viewers, sometimes I don't. So with this whiskey I knew very little, so I bought another bottle myself. The nose is piercingly orange rind, lilacs, violets. It's floral. It's not offensive, but it's not complex or incredibly pretty. The palate, orange rind, very citrusy. I'm tasting some sherry. This would be a sherry-dominated malt. Not heavy sherry like Glendronach or Glenfarclas, but sherry-influenced. The sherry notes change to like old cheddar before you get a zing of pepper on the end of the palate before we transition into the finish. And on the finish, it's the finish is a term, as you know, refers to the length of flavor that remains behind on your palate. And it's fairly short here. Well, I wouldn't say short, it's medium. You're left with some white pepper, lemon, ginger. It's almost a little hot. A little word about the wood management. It's hard to find out information on Royal Brackla. I went on their website, royalbrackla.com, which turns out to refer you to a Dewar's website. And it says that the 12-year-old Royal Brackla is finished in Oloroso sherry casks. So there's a difference when you finish a whiskey in a particular cask. That means it's only the spirit is only in the cask for a short period of time. By short, could be 6 months to 2 years. And that just gives it an added punch. So the 12-year-old malts in here, the 12-year-old whiskey making up this single malt from this distillery, were not aged exclusively in Oloroso sherry casks or ex-bourbon casks for 12 years. It sounds like they weren't, but there was some finishing in sherry casks. The reason I mention that is because the whiskey lacks complexity, it lacks depth of sherry notes, it's kind of a flat, mediocre whiskey that leaves me wanting more, and there's kind of a bitter, youthful note on the finish. And the color is quite pale, and maybe they don't use artificial color, I don't really know. But it's very light. And so if you were finishing a whiskey in Oloroso sherry casks or any cask, then the color would be lighter. It may have spent a lot of time in bourbon casks. I can't tell, there's not much information on the wood management. But the bottom line is with Royal Brackla, it's flat, mediocre, and pretty uninteresting, with a youthful note of like a raw, bitter onion on the finish. Yee. Yeah. When I had it at the barbecue with these friends of mine or acquaintances, I had a falling out with one of them, I thought the whiskey was okay and pretty good. It was the first bottle of the night. I had a couple of shots, then I moved on to something else. But I thought it was pretty good. So I bought it, and when I opened it, it had some intensity and tasted pretty good. But oxidation, oxygen is not the friend of Royal Brackla, and this whiskey doesn't hold up once the cork is pulled. I'm disappointed, can't recommend it. In Canada, I paid a lot of money for this. I paid $100. I've seen online somebody talking about this whiskey, and they said they only paid $30. If I paid $30, I would not complain. If I paid $40, $45, even $50, I'd be okay with that. $100, never. I wouldn't pay $60 for this stuff. I am disappointed with Royal Brackla, and I think Royal Brackla is one of those single malts that is meant to be a component of a blended whiskey, and that's where it should stay, not in a bottle, unless an independent bottler is innovative and knows how to work with this type of whiskey, and independent bottlers are good at that. So if you see Royal Brackla by Gordon MacPhail or Berry Brothers, maybe give it a go. But if you see a Royal Brackla with the label just by itself, 12-year-old single malt, avoid it. Take care. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.